murder.
There is Birchall hanging out of the chair.
Hard on the brakes there, then flat out again down the straight to this next bout of brick wall braking before flicking it right into the link section that cuts, turn right after the pits, cut across to the Mistral, turn right again. Typal Michael Mouse, I believe.
Very slightly at the end, and there's the Goodles making a bit of a move.
Looking for the inside of Stroyer.
Well, Stroyer's got it covered because he's looking for the inside of Camano, and Steve Abbott and Sean Smith carry on in front, and they're doing really, they're going for it. That's 19, that's Kleffenbach who's just in front of Steve Abbott and Sean Smith, and that's
the best we've seen from them, Keith. We normally expect them to blow up a bit early on, but which I mean they wear their tyres, their brakes, or the passenger out in the first half dozen laps and then go backwards, but they ain't doing it.
That's the Goodles on the BP sponsored bike.
I'm just having a look through to the last time there was a French Sidecar Grand Prix here in '88, and Beeland beat Webster.
Well, he's certainly on target for doing it again. It's the Dutch crew there.
That was Steve Webster's middle championship year of his hat-trick.
Well, it's frantic, isn't it?
I'm surprised that Kleffenbach has stayed in front of this lot for so long.
Look at Stroyer. Stroyer is...
Yes.
Stroyer
Look at Egbert Stroyer on the brakes.
Going for the outside line on Camano. Kleffenbach 19 is in front of Steve Abbott and Sean Smith.
Great stuff. A classic Sidecar race. That's the leading three, all in your pick from the little link section through to the Mistral. And as those three head onto the Mistral, we'll take another short break. Back with you again in a moment here on Eurosport. Leaders, Rolf Beeland number 4, Steve Webster number 3, Alain Michel number 1.
Well, I seem to remember a Swedish race where these two ended up wearing each other's body kits.
Yes.
Certainly had a rather large coming together at that time, but Beeland seems to have this job in hand. He knows exactly where Webster is, obviously. He can read his pit board and he can hear the bike behind him, and Webster has been quite close at some stage, but Beeland has responded and is having really no trouble in just pacing himself in front of Steve Webster.
And Alain Michel just appears to be losing touch with the leading duo, Keith. He looks like he's fated for third place there now.
Well, not a lot to choose on the brakes down there. Rolf Beeland, Kurt Waldisberg really holding that number 4 bike down on the track. Steve Webster, Gavin Simmons striking hard to try and keep with Beeland and try and make a pass, but it really doesn't look anywhere where they're actually making any ground up. They never really look to be in a challenging position, even though they follow them across the straight.
Yeah. I'm not sure that's really quite close enough for a proper slipstream manoeuvre either, is it?
There's not a possible chance of that then. And of course, these bikes are perhaps a little bit more, and Beeland sticks in the fastest lap, but I was about to say that the three-wheelers aerodynamically are probably better than the solos as far as efficiency of cutting through the wind. And of course, Beeland's done quite a lot of work in the wind tunnel with the bike cover, the fairing. It's ostensibly the same chassis and everything as most people run, but the actual fairing and fiberglass wear that you can, well, it's not fiberglass anymore, is it? It's all Kevlar stuff. But it is a different shape completely and is aerodynamically more efficient than any other motorcycle out there.
Yes, you can be sure that Rolf, as Keith said earlier, will have taken every technical avenue he can to get a slight advantage over Steve Webster. Egloffs, Marcus and Urs have packed it in for the French Grand Prix, I'm afraid. They're having a rather disappointing season, the Egloffs. I expected more from them. They're down in 12th position in the World Championship.
Well, they were doing quite well earlier on in this race when I mistake Stroyer for the Egloffs. If that's any consolation to the Egloff brothers, and I'm sure it's not.
Now, is Steve Webster close enough? He's not, is he?
He's not close enough, but the significant thing is the French pair, the Anglo-French pair, I should say, in third place of Michel is well and truly out of touch now.
I think so. Alain Michel, assuming his engine doesn't do anything nasty or he has no other mechanical malfunction, I think we can safely... Fastest lap for Webbo.
Well, Webster responds to the previous fastest lap of Beeland in fine style, and we wouldn't expect anything else other from the team, Webster and Simmons, would we really? He is a real fighting Yorkshireman, there's no doubting that. And providing the bike holds together, and it does generally, he's going to be right there to the wire, there's no doubting that. The Silcoline bike, unusual to see it break down as much perhaps as it has done. I mean, he had problems last year with mechanical failure, but that was down to finance more than anything. They had to make things last that little bit longer. This year, financially, things are much better in the Avon Silcoline team of...
He's had 2 breakdowns in Germany and last time out in the Netherlands, both with piston problems. I know the one in Germany was caused by a dodgy fuel pump, not supplying enough fuel to one pair of cylinders, and the inner one weakened off and nipped up. And that's the sort of... I don't know whether you can legislate for something like a fuel pump not doing its job properly.
Well, certainly it looked as if he was doing his job properly there on the brakes. Webster had a great big run at Beeland. It's really between these two for the lead.
There's Michel, Alan Michel and Simon Birchall, the reigning world champions, in 3rd place. There's confirmation. Yes, he's now over 2.5 seconds down. Abbott is in 4th, and that's a splendid showing from Abbott and Smith.
Steve Abbott and Sean Smith.
Clappenbach, Camano, Stroyer and Goodall. I don't know why we're having dreadful trouble with our Steves and our Seans and our Abbotts and our Smiths today. I apologise to the Nottingham team.
I know we're going to be reminded of this the first time we hit the English paddock at Donington Park.
Just a little bit.
But never mind, perhaps you'd like to send your spellings, please, to Eurosport here in France.
And if anybody sees us on our home Grand Prix, lurking with intent around the Donington paddock, and anything you want answered, we'll do our best. If you see us, let us know, and we'll see if we can come up with an explanation for you.
Julian will be the one wearing the carnation. Beeland leads, number 4, and he's got this job sorted out and in hand. Led from the flag with no trouble whatsoever, apart from Webster occasionally showing a wheel, but...
yeah, just now and then he looks to be getting close enough, Steve Webster, doesn't he?
Yeah, but Beeland really does have the job sorted out. This is where Webster gets closest, and the blue flag being waved frantically. More for number 35, the back marker there, struggling away.
Fisher and Crone, the English team. So, did the gentlemanly thing?
They had really no choice.
How would you like to stay on the track? Thank you.
The sidecar teams really don't mind getting a few wheels on the dirty stuff, do they? Whereas the solos avoid it like the plague.
Yes. Nice study of Gavin Simmons bracing himself. Very hard work, that right-hander, where you're clamped as a passenger onto the rear bodywork of the sidecar, and every bump, they've not got much suspension, these things, every bump is hammering you in the rib cage. My God, you've got to be fit to do this job.
Among other things,
thank you, yes. As an ex-solo rider, Keith Ewan has enough trouble understanding somebody who wants to drive one of these, but somebody who wants to passenger one.
Yeah, somebody offered me already, if I renewed my international racing licence, that they would give me a ride in the sidecar, which I...
Mr. Hewan's leathers will not be going to Donington,
I declared myself...
Whoa, now here's some heavy traffic.
Yeah, and Abbott has really got himself in a good position in front of Claffenbach. Then we've got that man, the Dutchman, Stroyer. That's Abbott and Smith.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've got it right there. Claffenbach behind them, followed by Stroyer, followed by Kumano, followed by the Goodles, followed by Bornhorst. Well, that is going to be a major sort out.
Abbott and Smith came through from the 5th row of the grid, 12th qualifying. It's a splendid show. That's the Goodles, number 5, isn't it, the green outfit. Number 12, Ralph Bornhorst and Bruno Hiller, the victors of the Hockenheim German Grand Prix. The latest people to be elevated to the ranks of Grand Prix winners in the sidecar class.
Well, we know Steve Abbott and Sean Smith are well capable of doing the business in the sidecar class. They've been at it for a long time, and they both know each other and the bikes very well indeed, but they just haven't shown us much this year. But I think there's going to be a bit of a forceful manoeuvre at the end of the straight here.
Claffenbach.
Well, Claffenbach goes through and leaves a gap, and it looked like Stroyer was going to take that as they get up the inside of...
That's a back marker, really having... I think it was that Fisher and Crone again.
Well, that was rather polite. Did you notice there that the passenger waved and acknowledged that the back marker had got out the way?
How have you got time to be that polite in a race like this?
Well, that's That's a wonder indeed.
Oh, don't knock him out again. Oh, see Bonhoff sideways there, number 12.
Yeah, sideways with the passenger on the inside of the track. If ever there was a need to hang out further, I think it was the fact that to preserve your life.
Sean Smith, who had the misfortune to be pinged out of the outfit coming out of the chicane at Assen, must have had a horrible feeling of deja vu there for a moment. Whoops!
Another back marker there, checking out the paintwork on the curbs. Klaffenbach, and it looks like Stroyer is certainly lining himself up for a move, but look at Abbott, look at Abbott. Oh, very, very close indeed. He had to go right up the curb there with the driving wheels.
It's doing my heart rate no good at all, this. And look at Ralph Bonhoft, who's having a dip about at the back of the group, looking for some slipstream.
Yeah, looks to me like Stroyer is having a good look as well. Wieland puts in another fast lap.
126.9 as against 126.82 for his pole position time. Now, there's... Oh, yes.
Well, that says it all, doesn't it? Abbott had paced himself really well up the straight there, dragged away. It looked like Stroyer was going to pass Abbott, and Abbott turned the tables on them all and absolutely blitzed them off the Mistral straight. Brilliant riding.
He's looked... can you believe that Steve Abbott, who is now 36, and as you say, Keith, has been racing Grand Prix for over 10 years, his first ever rostrum position was in the USA last year, and he's had 2 more rostrum positions this year, Spain and the European Grand Prix at Arama. Then he had that unfortunate lose the passenger scenario in Assen. That is Egbert Stroyer, a 3-times world champion, with his 3rd passenger of the year, Peter Brown, in the chair. I don't know why we still call them chairs, is beyond me.
yeah. Steve Abbott and Sean Smith, number 6, Klaffenbach 19, Stroyer, Kumano,
and Ralph Bonhost, number 12.
Klaffenbach completely wrong on the brakes there.
I don't think he cares. It's his passenger Partzer that I worry about.
Well, the asylum is quite nearby. They'll all be returned to it later in the day.
And Egbert pulls out of the slipstream. Number 2 outfit, Stroyer and Brown, has got past the Austrians. Now, will Klaffenbach have a go back?
I think almost undoubtedly will have a go back. Whether it be facing forwards or sideways completely, one can only guess.
So, Stroyer up to 5th, Klaffenbach in fact back in 6th in front of Kumano and Bonhost, and the front 3 are as we left them a moment ago. And Rolf Bieland now has over 2 seconds lead on Steve Webster. Have the front 3 settled, I wonder? I know this lot haven't.
Now, this is going to be one of those races that they keep bunching up and then spreading themselves out a bit and bunching up and spreading out again. But at the moment, Steve Abbott and Sean Smith certainly have this covered.
They do about to have Egbert Stroyer giving them some serious attention, I feel. But I can't remember seeing
another passenger that almost lost his footing. That is very difficult for them. They've got to switch from one side of the bike to the other side of the bike.
Under heavy braking, under really, really heavy braking.
Well, they don't actually, they're not shifting under braking, but what's happening is on the point of them moving from one side of the bike to the other is where they hit the brakes, the driver hits the brakes, and they've only got to be a mega second out, and they are literally nearly out of the chair.
There's the race leader, Rolf Bieland, with Kurt Voltersberg aboard. It'll be Rolf's first win this year if he stays there to the flag, and he will take his total up to 57 Grand Prix wins. Almost an unbelievable total. His first Grand Prix was Austria back in 1974. His first win was Germany in 1975. So join us again in a minute after a short break when we see whether the winningest driver in sidecar racing can win again. Back. We're looking at a downfield scrap at the moment. Rolf Bieland still leads, Steve Webster still second, Alain Michel is still 3rd. In fact, that's Webster, isn't it? We're looking at it, just lapping number 21.
Webster was struggling like mad through those back markers there, and Bieland has now managed to extend his lead to over 7 seconds. So we've got Bieland well in front now. Webbo was very, very unfortunate. He had 3 chairs in front of him, 3 sidecar crews that he just could not get through, and Bieland has taken his chance and cleared off into the distance. You can see the gap there. This is a back marker in the middle of Bieland and Webster.
That's Bieland.
Beeland has, well, he won't need much of an invitation to try and make the break now. You can see the gap. It's a huge gap to number 3 there. Second place man, Webster, and that is out of date. There's no doubt about that. It's more than a 4.5 second lead.
The younger Brindley brother.
Well, there's so many of them, I don't know the first name.
I'm trying to remember it.
Well, I'll leave that one to you, Julian. You're the records man in this office. So, Webbo in second place, now being led by Rolf Beeland by a considerable amount.
It's Derek Brindley, isn't it? Elder brothers Barry. We're having trouble with our British sidecar crews today. I do apologise, folks.
Well, that's okay. I know we're going to be reminded fairly soon, but...
You see the size of the Brindley brothers.
And the amount of them.
The younger Brindley there, Derek, tipped like Darren Dixon by Steve Webster as the future of British sidecar racing. A guy really with the talent to come through and win at international level. This is his first year of entering a few Grand Prix. He's out there getting the experience, but he's a man who we can expect to see taking Keith Hewan's points from earlier, give him 3 years, and then make a judgment on them.
Yeah, I think so. With sidecar crews, of course, it's slightly difficult, in as much as they are, shall we say, most of the English riders I'll talk about, they start from a club level and work their way right through, and there's been no interference with any of the actual rules as far as the bikes are concerned in recent years. So we've got quite a strong base as far as the English riders are concerned. That's why Webster and company, we've got so many good English riders in the World Championship.
I think the Germans have the same, Keith.
Well, that's right, because again, the rules aren't mucked around with, and there is a springboard from national racing straight into international racing, and then obviously onto Grand Prix. Whereas in other classes, some countries tend to go for classes that really don't lead their riders on to World Championship races.
Yes, and it's not just the Germans, of course, it's all the German speakers. The Swiss and the Austrians have a strong tradition, and there's nobody stronger than this man, Rolf Beeland. I keep saying it, the winner of 56 Grand Prix. It's an almost inconceivable number of victories. If you think of somebody starting out with 15 or 16 Grand Prix a year to race, less in the sidecar class, that you could rack up over 50 career wins.
The thing I like about the sidecar class in generally and socially is that they are all such good fun. I mean, like it's the part of the paddock that houses the sidecar crews generally. It's party time non-stop, which is always good fun. Whereas the solos are a little bit more serious. They all clear off back to the motorhomes and then onto the hotels later. And you don't see quite so much of the atmosphere that you get with the sidecar crews.
Not so much money, of course, in sidecar racing. There isn't the heavy sponsorship, is there, in the chairs? Never has been.
Are you trying to say that money makes misery?
I'm thinking it might make you a bit more serious about life. And that's 2 back markers. Now there's the third place man, Alain Michel.
Yes, Michel's in a safe third place with nobody behind him and really nobody in front of him. He's just got to hold station really to grab the points, which rostrum position I suppose is okay for your home Grand Prix, but I know that he would have preferred to have been up there at the front. And
Alain Michel, having had 2 DNFs at the start of the year in Spain and Italy, then he was a victim of that pile-up in Austria when his gearbox broke. He's not really had the most luck of anybody this year, has he, Alain Michel? And he needs to get up there and finish every race now. He's run out of... He's got 3 DNFs, effectively, so he's...
There's the distance. Behind these 2 back markers is race leader 4, Beeland and Wardisberg, and you saw coming onto the back straight Steve Webster and Gavin Simmons, now what I make to be 7 seconds behind. You saw there the back marker, passenger back marker, tapping the right-hand side of the bike and his driver to let him know that there were faster men coming through, which just goes to show you that a second pair of eyes goes for it.
Fisher and Crone, that was again. Now here comes the entertainment, and it looks like Egbert is in front of Steve Abbott.
Stroyer number 2 in front of Steve Abbott and Sean Smith, who have not given up for that 4th place, have they really?
They've looked so good this year, Steve Abbott and Sean Smith. It's the strongest challenge from the start I've seen from this team.
I've always liked the Yamaha America. Oh, nice sideways drift on there. The Yamaha America colours that they run under the Appleby Glade banner. Dave Orton.
And he's right with them. Steve Abbott and Sean Smith right with Egbert Stroyer and Peter Brown.
Well, he may be
fourth place.
Yeah, he may be fourth at the moment, but for certain, Steve Abbott looks like he's going to make a move on him at any minute. 4 laps to go, and they know it. Oh, and Stroyer's got his passenger right up on the top of the curb.
Looks like Kamano's coming through next, I think, with the Goodles.
Well, look at Abbott. He really is looking a man possessed, isn't he?
I see that Sean Smith's bought a new crash helmet since getting flipped out of Assen a few weeks ago.
That's a bit of a worry. New helmets. I'm always a superstitious man, you know. Shouldn't wear new leathers, new boots, new gloves, new helmet. Not for racing.
It was the sight of sort of Mick Doohan in the new set of leathers, writhing around in the dirt in the paddock a few weeks ago. He came out of his motorhome in pristine Rothmans leathers and rolled on the ground and shuffled about like my cat does.
Well, you've got to get over it, you see, otherwise you end up falling on your ear. The old superstition has it within motorcycling.
I used to laugh at that till I got myself a really nice new set of Swift leathers.
Well, there's just so
Went
much...
on a press launch and fell off.
Well, there's so much leather to a set of yours, really, isn't there? I mean, it's...
It's back to that big cow joke we were making earlier, isn't it, about Randy Mamela? It was red as well. Maybe I could lend them to Randy for Donington.
Oh, dear me. I await the call, Andrea. You just keep by the phone, Andrea Heron.
A reference
Coleman.
A reference to Andrea, who organises the Save the Children Fund charity race at Brands Hatch last year, and is a long time minder of Randy and runner of his fan club, I think I should say.
Yeah, absolutely. Dedicated minder of fan club.
Yes, and Andrea, I'm on holiday next week. I'm not going to be answering a phone.
So, Beeland still leads by a mile from Steve Webster. There is Beeland 4. You can see that Webster is nowhere in touch whatsoever, and there's a pit crew of Beeland will keep him informed. I mean, he's got a back marker to contend with now and again, but not going to be a great worry. He keeps it on a nice tight line and blasts through the inside.
You get a good quality of back marker in sidecar racing, don't you, Keith? They do tend to know you're coming.
That's purely and simply because the passenger looks behind. I mean, it's one of those things where you've got a second set of eyes.
That was the Germans, Kraus and Schroeder, doing the decent thing there. Was that smoke off Kurt Voltisberg's left buttock there around that curve?
Well, I can't imagine what else it could have been, Julian. So, Beeland on target for grabbing a bit of points back again as he throws his passenger forward. That is horrifying for me, anyway. Beeland has finished second to Stroyer at the Dutch Grand Prix, but in front of, obviously, Webster at that particular occasion, because Webster didn't finish. So Beeland's grabbing points back here. 2 laps to go. Webster has no answer.
I think the top 3, as Keith suggests, have sorted themselves out. It's the minor placings that are providing the entertainment at the moment.
Well, it's really all down to the Stroyer and Smith, Abbott and Smith situation, isn't it? And whether Kamano can get in on the act as well. Stroyer, the Dutchman.
The Goodles were right with Kamano.
Well, that's for sure. So we've got, for the 4th, 5th, 6th and 7th places, a real battle royal.
A right sort out still to take place, I feel. Note the synthetic Kevlar suits these guys wear now. They're not wearing leather suits, Beeland and Voltisberg.
I like the pad on his backside. That's he's obviously worn a few things through on his Kevlar suit. You can see why he has it there now, can't you?
That's what I was saying last lap, Keith.
It's either that or a roller skate you need. Well, there is a rather large gap. That's the up-to-date distance between Webster and Beeland. Webster, of course, in second place with virtually, well, in fact, no chance if everything stays as it is.
Not in a lap and a quarter.
No, there's not a possible chance of that. But, of course, Webbo won't give up. Stranger things have happened.
You think of Webster's second World Championship when he had no chance at all.
That's the Dixon brothers there. I say Dixon brothers.
That's Brindley and Roche.
Wrong again, Hewan. One must look at one's notes before one calls the names. Dernier Tour. Last lap, that bit I do know.
We've been in France for a while. Now, what's happening?
Well,
I think I saw Webbo just come on to the Mistral in amongst a few back markers, Keith. He's nowhere. As you said, there's no way. I think we're looking at Rolf Beeland and Kurt Voltisberg. racking up their first win of the season.
And for those of you who wondered where the Dixons were, they are down in 10th place, so I gave them a bit of a name check, so I thought I'd better follow through with where they are in the race, considering I got that particular bit wrong.
They're number 17, the Dixons, if you see them come across the line.
And they're in 10th place currently and holding a good 10th place, so not a major problem for them down there and scoring good points again. But this man's going to score a maximum. Just 2 more turns to go. Rolf Beelen, number 4.
Heading to reduce Steve Webster's championship lead from 25 to 22 points.
And his 57th Grand Prix sidecar win.
And on that note, yes, you can still enjoy it even after more than 50 wins. Where's Webster? There's Webbo coming home second. That's 2 back markers behind him. We're now looking for number 1, Alain Michel and Simon Birchall to come home in 3rd place. Here they are.
Some considerable distance behind, but a good, safe 3rd place.
I think Alain Michel had settled for that a fair way back.
Absolutely, and behind them, let's see what the battle for Stroyer and Abbott are doing. Stroyer number 2, Abbott number 6. Let's watch for them. That's been a close battle throughout the race. Steve Abbott and Sean Smith on the yellow and black bike. Stroyer on the Lucky Strike bike. They've got a long way to go. That's the race winners on their slowing down lap, but let's try and get back for Stroyer.
Friendly wave.
Abbott. Well, they are friendly, aren't they? That's one thing we can rely on as far as sidecar crews are concerned.
It's a very sporting, in the old-fashioned sense of the word, the nice sense of the word, competition sidecar racing usually. Your reference to Bielan's overtaking or preventative manoeuvre a few years ago in Sweden.
There's a Swiss flag.
I don't think he's going to catch him. Oh, he is. Well stopped for the flag.
Quite right, too.
What a lovely image.
I'd give him a ride round to the beer if I was him. Oh, he is. Nice one. well, what can be said about that? Oh, well, there you go.
Do you think they know him?
Wonder where they got that book from.
I've never seen that before in my life. That's wonderful.
He looks scared already.
I'd be.
He looks about how I'd be.
Yes.
So, look, Abbott got 5th. Stroyer beat Abbott for that 4th place.
And there, for the 57th time in his career, Rolf Bielan stands on top of the rostrum. Webster 2nd, Michel 3rd. It's been an absolutely wonderful day's racing at the French Grand Prix at Ricard. We'll see you again next time at Donington Park.